What up, world? 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 It's your main man. I am DJ Double Dose, man, coming at you again, man. We have finally, there's no more talk. There's no more conversations. We have finally made it to week 0. And not only are we in week 0, FSU got a game, baby. Florida State versus Georgia Tech in Ireland, kicking this whole shit off. Y'all already know. Y'all already know the adrenaline is pumping. Y'all already know what we are with everything. Y'all already know how we got. You know what? This is the new season. I'm not going to do all that yelling. I'm not going to do all that screaming. So I got to. However, welcome, man. Welcome back, man. Welcome back to another episode of Double Dose of Reality Sports, man. Right now, I am giving you the FSU versus Georgia Tech game preview. We're going to do some of these as the season goes along. This one is a little more special because, number one, is Florida State kicking off after everything that happened last year. Number two, that many games in week 0. And this is one of the marquee games that everybody's going to be watching, whether you are watching to see us lose because you want to try to keep continuing to dagger, dig that knife in, or whether you are truly just a fan of the sport and you excited because it's week 0, or number 3, you're just a Florida State or a Georgia Tech fan and you happy to see your team play. And not only is their first game of the season, it's the first conference game. So whoever comes out of this game, not only do they come out of it with a W, because a lot of times in week 1, you see these non-conference games where it's like, hey, whoever wins or loses, it doesn't affect their season because ultimately they still have their conference games left to play. Well, in this particular situation, it's a lot more than just game 1 because, again, you only get 8 of them. So to get your first conference win out of the way in week 0, just saying, that's going to go a long way towards however you want to see your season go. Okay, so what do we know? What are the facts? We're going to talk about this. Is not going to be a long show. We're short. What do we know? What are the facts? We know that Georgia Tech, they are not your Georgia Tech of old. They are not the Calvin Johnsons. Ball Georgia Tech. They are not the option running Georgia Tech anymore. The new coach Key, he played there. He was a standout while he was there. For all intents and purposes, it looks like he's a good coach. Looks like he's going to be a good fit. Case in point, they just landed one of the top tackles, offensive tackles, this past week. Just landed him. Now, again, selling Atlanta isn't hard. Let's just be honest now. And especially if you actually going to give me a bag and I get to come to Atlanta and there's a new little Georgia Tech, I'm not surprised that the kid decided to go to Georgia Tech. It is what it is, man. They dropped the hellified bag. I'm not going to get into the numbers and the specifics because when it comes to NIL, sometimes the numbers are too high that they put out there. Sometimes they too low when they don't, and it's in a whole bunch of bullshit. But case in point, the boy got a bag. He is at Georgia Tech now. Anyway, with all of that being said, you look at this matchup and it's really both teams actually want to do the same thing in this game. Unlike last year, with what we had with Florida State, with what they had with Keon Coleman, with Johnny Wilson, with the weapons that we had on the outside, we wanted to do things a little bit differently last year. Probably how we're going to have to do shit this year. And that's fine. Georgia Tech, the one thing that they can do, and they can do well, they can run the fucking football. That is one thing that they can do. They were very, very good at running the football last year. And they quarterback, this guy right here, Mr. Haynes King. I'm here to tell you. Hey, Miami. Hi. Y'all remember that guy. Y'all remember what he did to y'all last year. So let's not act like, and even for a little while, they hung with Georgia too, for a little while, So when you have a quarterback that is very mobile, like Haynes King is, and their running back, I forget the kid's name, so I ain't gonna mess it up. but they have a very dynamic running back. Their rushing attack is going to be, I'm not going to necessarily say it's going to be a problem. However, the way that they run with their zone running scheme, the way that they run, they know that up front, they're not going to be able to block Florida State on a one-on-one basis, hat to hat. No. They're going to have to use a lot of misdirection. They're going to have to use a lot of zone blocking. They're going to have to use Haynes King rolling out and doing some scrambling, whether it's QB design runs or whether it's him improvising. They're going to have to do a lot of different things to throw a lot of different looks with the running game against Florida State. Simply because, I mean, ultimately, Florida State has arguably, depending on who you ask, whether it's 1, 2, or 3, doesn't matter, depends on who you ask, have either the top, the second, and third best defense in the ACC. So Georgia Tech knows that. Again, this is the same Georgia Tech team who we can laugh and we can joke about Miami all we want. Miami still had a solid defense last year. And regardless of if he didn't call a knee, whatever the case may be, Georgia Tech still had to score to win that game. And they scored to win that game. So with all of that being said, you look at what Georgia Tech brings to the table. One of the biggest strengths of FSU is FSU secondary. Now, the front seven is solid as well, too. We definitely have a 2 deep. The front seven is solid, too. But Georgia Tech is going to attack FSU a lot differently than what we would probably be comfortable with. So we're going to be interesting to see early on what Georgia Tech does and how they establish their running game. Now, on the flip side, Florida State, same thing. Georgia Tech had it was the worst defense in the ACC last year. And on top of all of that, they lost some people from that terrible-ass defense. And the one thing that they were even worse at of all was giving up rushing yards. People were averaging damn near 5 yards a carry on Georgia Tech last year. So they bring in, year to year, you can't say a team is going to be the same way it was the year before. So I don't want to go too far and just say, hey, the run defense is just going to all of a sudden be super trash this year just because it was super trash last year. However, I don't think it's going to go from the worst in the ACC to – I don't think it's going to go from worst to first. So I'm saying all that to say the biggest question mark that Florida State has going into this matchup that people seem to say they have is at quarterback with DJU, because we don't know which version of DJU you're going to get. Me personally, looking at all the practice reports and looking at the footage and things that we've been privy to, I think people are in for a huge surprise with DJU. And I say that because people forget Jordan Travis was not what he was when Mike Norvell got there. Mike Norvell and Kenny Dillingham started to shape and mold Jordan Travis. And then once Kenny Dillingham left, Atkins and Mike Norvell continued to mold Jordan Travis into what we ended up seeing at the very end. Now, of course, with DJU, they only got one season to do this. However, he's a little further along in the process. This is a grown man who actually wants to play in the NFL. Not to mention, he has a huge arm. Not to mention, he is not injury prone. So I say that to say a lot of things that Mike Norvell may have wanted to do or he may not have wanted to do, he had to scale back in the read option game, in the play. He had to scale it back because he was worrying about Jordan Travis's health, because Jordan Travis had a history of being dinged up and getting injuries, yada, yada, yada. So the offense, to a certain degree, is more open. DJU has a bigger arm, and he's going to be able to be involved. Now, he's not as fast as Jordan. I'm not expecting him to make some of the electrifying ones that we did see from Jordan from time to time. I'm not expecting that from DJU. But what I am expecting him to do is to be able to put his head down, and when we need him to keep, he can keep and get us a few yards get out of bounds, slide, whatever he needs to do. So how does Florida State or Georgia Tech win this game? It's real simple. It's real simple. If you're Florida State, what you want from DJU is turnover-free football. That's it. It's not about anything else other than that. If DJU plays a clean game, he gives us 195, 200 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, no fumbles, no picks. I know somebody say those are not the greatest numbers in the world. No, they're not. But for this particular game and in this particular matchup, that's all we need because the defense is good enough to keep this thing low scoring and to make it ugly. What you want from the backs if you're FSU, you want to see Roydell get lathered up. You want to see Toafili helping out DJU. We know Toafili is a do-it-all back. He can block, he can run wildcat, he can catch out of backfield, and he can just be your regular traditional running back. He's Mr. Do-it-all. He's probably going to be needed, especially early on the season, a lot more in the passing game than in the running game. We deep at running back. Not saying that he's going to switch positions or nothing like that, but the truth of the matter is he's going to be needed a whole lot early on as those receivers continue to grow with DJU and get up to speed. Speaking of receivers, we know what's happening on the outside. Those of you that don't know, Destin Hill, he got hurt in the offseason. He's not going to play this year. We got Hakeem. We got Benson from Bama. We got Ja'Kai Douglas. We still got Portier. We still got Williamson. I mean, you picked up Jalen Lucas. He's an athlete. I don't want to say he's a running back, or he can be either or. You know, the tight ends are slowly coming on. So we're not going to ask the wide receivers to do much. We're just going to need them just catch the damn ball when it's thrown to you. That's it. And then from the running back stable, we need consistency. That's all we need. If the offensive line is going to be a strength of ours, when these jokers do move people out the way, find the right hole, hit it, get what you need to get. No dancing, no extra shit. And if you Georgia Tech, to be fair, to speak on them, same thing goes on your end. Hey, you know what? Run when you can, get the yards that you need to get, set up play action so Haynes King can find his targets down the field when the opportunity presents itself. So if you're Georgia Tech, that's your game plan too. Shorten the game, keep it short and sweet, get down the field with big plays when the opportunities present themselves. So who wins? I hope y'all weren't coming here thinking I was going to say that FSU was going to lose. That ain't going to happen. But just to be fair and to be non-homer, Georgia Tech does naturally have a shot to win this game. They do. Because there is a world where DJU is ass. He does suck. And he comes out here, fucks around, throws a couple picks. Georgia Tech gets up. And now we have to rely on the passing game to actually win the game. That's the worst case scenario. But there's a world where that scenario could possibly be true. Highly unlikely. But let's not act like it can't happen. DJU has had a problem with turnovers. But on the flip side, you want to talk about turnovers. This man threw in the teens in interceptions last year. So if you Florida State, your defensive game plan should be real simple. Contain the run and make him throw. You contain the run and you make him throw. If history shows itself, Haynes King will not only give you 1, he'll give you 2, and he might even give you 3. So don't be stupid. Contain the run, make him make reads, and make him throw the ball. So I would like for this to be a little more entertaining and straightforward, but I'm not even going to lie to y'all, man. I'm nervous. Shit. Hell. They goddamn spread 11.5. Everybody, I had my partner Joni hit me up today. He's like, man, you think y'all going to cover? I said, man, I won't put my money on that shit. I wouldn't do it. But if you want to, by all means, shout out to Jonah the Crooner, man. He gonna be on the show, he gonna be on the show a few times. He was on the show last year once, but we're gonna get him on a few more times this year with some betting picks and things of that nature, especially on the Saturday nights that we're gonna be doing. We're gonna get him on some of those Saturday nights. But like I said, then I had my homie Greg hit me up. He was like, man, what's the over and under? What's this? I said, hey man, look, if y'all want to bet that shit, go ahead, man. I said, I gotta lay my eyes on DJU, and I gotta see how him and Mike Norvell interact with each other and be able to watch the game initially, go back, do the rewatch, and then see what it is that I see before I would even remotely confidently try to put any kind of money on us, especially with an 11.5 spread. Hey man, more pop. Now maybe if it had been 10, I might have would have rocked with it, but 11.5, nah, I'm not touching that. But in the grand scheme of things, I said all that to say this. I got FSU pulling out the victory, starting off 1-0, shutting everybody up. Shh. Bless the mic. Shutting everybody up. Starting the season 1-0, letting y'all, hey, Mr. Paul Feinbaum, you especially, making sure that we do what we do, even though no matter if we win, y'all still gonna hate, and if we lose, y'all gonna give us all the hell in the world. But it don't matter, because come Saturday, the Florida State Seminoles will be walking out of Dublin, Ireland. Lucky the Irish. I know that was a terrible rendition of that, but it's okay. I know that FSU will be walking out victorious, hands held high, starting the season off 1-0. And not only will we be 1-0, we'll be 1-0 in the ACC, baby, on the way to defend our motherfucking crown, marching on to the playoffs where we should have been last year, man. So with all that being said, man, FSU Georgia Tech preview is a wrap. It's over. It's done. Give me FSU. And if you want to score, I'm going to give it to you right now. Give me FSU 31-21. And we out of there, man. Also, always remember to follow the show on the Post Network, powered by Roku. It's on the Roku app. If you got a Roku TV device, whatever you got, download the Post Network to catch the show. You can always catch the show there, and you can catch the show on YouTube, man. And always remember, live, laugh, and love, man. Live your life to the fullest. Love on the people that love you back, and find you something to laugh at each and every day. And oh,